America's housing market is quietly breaking, and Florida might be one of the first places where you really see the cracks. Boomers are sitting on big houses they can't sell, younger buyers are totally priced out, and the math just doesn't add up anymore. Let's talk through what's actually happening and what it means if you own, want to own, or invest in Florida real estate over the next decade. America's demographics have flipped, and housing is where it's showing up the loudest. Millennials are stretched thin. Gen Z is not dreaming about huge suburban homes, and foreign buyers aren't swooping in like they used to. At the same time, a ton of baby boomers are waking up in big, expensive houses that fewer people can afford, and even fewer actually want. These places are too large, too costly to maintain, and built for bigger families and lifestyles that just aren't the norm anymore. In Florida, this is turning into a real problem because boomers need their home values to hold. For a lot of them, that house isn't just where they live, it is the retirement plan. Over the next 10 to 15 years, a large share of older homeowners will be downsizing, moving into care, and many of these homes will end up on the market. Sometimes people call that wave the silver tsunami, but it's really just what happens when one large generation ages out of home ownership. Let's start with where the money actually is. Most boomers are what you'd call house rich and cash poor. On paper, they might look comfortable because the value of their home makes their net worth look strong. But a huge part of that net worth is trapped in the walls of the house instead of sitting in a bank account. They've spent decades paying down mortgages and riding price appreciation. All that turns into equity, but that equity only becomes useful when they sell, borrow against it, or move into something smaller. None of those options feel easy when the market is wobbling. A small slice of boomers own those crazy oceanfront or trophy properties in cash, but that's not the everyday reality. Most are in regular homes, in regular neighborhoods, where the home value is the backbone of their retirement. So if prices soften, they're not just watching a Zillow estimate move, they're watching their plan A, B, and C for retirement start to feel less secure. That's a big reason older sellers get so attached to their list price. To them, dropping the price isn't just negotiating, it feels like watching their safety net shrink. Now, layer all of that over Florida. Florida is packed with retirees, second homes, and I finally made it properties. For years, the story was simple. People moved in, prices went up, and anything near the water, a golf course, or a decent school got snapped up fast. Agents could list almost anything and expect a flood of interest. Then the world changed. The surge in pandemic migration slowed, mortgage rates rose, and locals were pushed out of the price range for many of these homes. When you look around Florida, a lot of boomer-owned homes share the same basic profile. They're big houses, often 3,000 square feet or more, with higher taxes, higher insurance, and higher maintenance costs. Many of them haven't been updated to reflect what younger buyers want today. Think older layouts, older finishes, and systems that will need work soon. The people who can still afford these homes tend to fall into a few buckets. You've got out-of-state buyers coming from higher-priced markets, cash buyers who just sold something more expensive somewhere else, and older buyers downsizing from an even larger house. That's not a deep pool of buyers to support a huge stock of bigger, aging homes. And as more boomers decide to list, whether to relocate, downsize, or settle estates, the gap between the number of houses and the number of real buyers who can take them on just keeps widening. You've probably heard people talk about a massive wealth transfer coming. The idea is that as boomers age, trillions of dollars are going to move to younger generations. On the surface, that sounds like it should solve the problem. Heirs get money, they use it to buy homes, and that extra demand soaks up all this inventory. In reality, it's not that clean. A big chunk of that wealth isn't a pile of cash, it's the house itself. Heirs often don't live in the same neighborhood or even the same state as the property they inherit. So the first step, more often than not, is to sell the house rather than move into it. That sends another listing into the local market, especially in retiree-heavy areas like parts of Florida, but doesn't automatically create a buyer who actually lives there. The proceeds from that sale can easily leave the area when the heirs go home and decide to buy or invest somewhere else. And when people do get a windfall, They rarely put all of it into another house just like the one they inherited. They pay off debt, upgrade their lifestyle, maybe buy a different home, but not necessarily a big, aging Florida property with high ongoing costs. So yes, the wealth transfer is real and huge, but it doesn't neatly line up extra boomer homes in Florida with younger buyers eager to take on those exact homes at today's prices and expenses. Now zoom in on the younger side of the market. First-time buyers are older than they used to be and way more stretched. Instead of buying in their late 20s or early 30s, many are now pushing that first purchase into their late 30s. By then, they're juggling student loans, car payments, higher everyday costs, and sometimes kids or childcare on top of it. They're not looking for a massive 3,500 square foot project house with dated everything and utility bills that feel like a second mortgage. They're hunting for something livable, efficient, and vaguely reasonable from a monthly payment standpoint. Here's where it gets rough. Those same smaller, more efficient homes are exactly what downsizing boomers want too. So younger buyers aren't just competing with their own age group. They're going head-to-head with older buyers who might be rolling hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity into their next purchase, or just paying cash. If you're a first-time buyer scraping together 5% down and still carrying student debt, and you're bidding against someone who just sold a fully paid-off house, you can probably guess who the seller prefers. That's how a lot of younger buyers end up feeling like the game is stacked against them from the start. Meanwhile, the big boomer houses sit on the market. The smaller, more affordable homes, the ones everyone wants, get multiple offers, sell quickly, and stay out of reach for the people who actually need them as entry points into the market. Let's go back to those larger Florida homes for a second. Big square footage used to be a bragging point. Now, it's a running expense. Insurance isn't cheap. Electric bills aren't cheap. Roofs, pools, landscaping, all of that adds up fast. Younger buyers look at those ongoing costs and think, why would I sign up for that when I'm already stretching just to get in? So even if the listing price comes down a bit, the total carrying cost can still feel like too much. Over and over again, you see the same pattern. A boomer lists a big home at the price they think it's worth, usually whatever the neighbor got at the peak. The house sits with little activity. They drop the price a little, it still sits. Frustration kicks in. The seller starts talking about stubborn buyers who don't appreciate the home, and eventually they pull the listing and decide to wait for the market to come back. From their side, standing firm feels safer than accepting a number that doesn't match their mental picture of their equity. From the buyer's side, even after the cuts, the payment still doesn't feel realistic for their income and other expenses. The only big homes that move quickly in a market like this are usually the ones with something truly special. An amazing lot, water views, a prime location, or a full modern renovation where a buyer can just move in and live. If it's just another big dated house in a sea of similar properties, buyers feel no urgency. They know there are options, they know more will be coming, and they're perfectly willing to negotiate hard or simply walk away. And as more older owners decide to sell, move closer to family, or pass their homes on to heirs, more of these large properties will cycle into the for sale pool. If boomers keep anchoring to yesterday's prices, a lot of those homes will sit longer and longer. That's where the pressure really builds. So what does all of this add up to over the next 10 to 15 years, especially in Florida? It's probably not one big dramatic crash, and it's probably not a straight lineup either. What you're more likely to see is a split market. On one side, larger, older homes in retiree-heavy areas face more and more downward pressure on price as supply builds, and the buyer pool stays thin. On the other side, smaller, efficient homes in good locations stay competitive because they're the thing everybody wants. Downsizing boomers, first-time buyers, move-up buyers, and investors. Those homes are the center of gravity in the market. Florida is especially sensitive to all of this because of how its housing and tax structure works. It has a high share of retiree owners, a long history of boom and bust cycles, and insurance and tax costs that can make large homes very expensive to carry. If prices on big homes come down enough, that can actually be healthy in the long run because it helps reset affordability. But in the transition, it feels messy. Sellers feel like they're losing ground. Buyers still feel squeezed by rates and payments. The whole market can feel frozen, with more price cuts, more pulled listings, and a lot of older owners saying, I'll just stay put and wait this out. That's the slow motion version of the aging owner wave. It isn't all going to happen in 1 year. It's more like a long drip of older owners exiting, heirs selling, and inventory slowly building in certain types of homes in certain neighborhoods. If you're in Florida or thinking about Florida, as an owner or investor, this is the key takeaway. The story going forward probably isn't everything crashes. The more realistic story is that the market splits. Smaller, efficient homes in strong areas keep seeing steady demand, while larger, dated, high-maintenance homes need serious price adjustments or serious upgrades to move. If you own one of those big homes and you're thinking of selling in the next few years, it might be worth asking some hard questions now instead of assuming yesterday's price will still be there tomorrow. If you're a buyer or investor, the opportunities may show up first in those larger homes that need vision, capital, and patience to reposition. Either way, what's happening isn't random. It's demographics colliding with affordability, and Florida is one of the clearest places to watch that collision in real time. So that's the setup. Boomers, big houses, and a market that doesn't quite fit anymore. Now I want to know what you think. Are these Florida boomer homes the opportunity of the next decade, or a trap you'd rather avoid? Drop your take in the comments, and if you want more straight talk housing breakdowns like this, make sure you hit subscribe before you click away.